Do you believe if I say that KGF was a real story or Marco was a real story? Yes, you heard that right. But in reality, it is much more brutal than KGF and Marco. You might be wondering that which country is it and what incident am I talking about?
The foot and then smashed them against the tree. And they kill hundreds of babies each day just to free the mother to go to work.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the episode of Khmer Rouge rule of Cambodia, presented to you by Gyan. What had happened to Cambodia during 1975 to 1979. Because of that, there are many people still suffering. Before getting into the story, let me tell you what genocide means. Genocide means the mass killing of a group of people because of their race, religion, nationality, or ethnicity. It happens when someone tries to wipe out an entire community or culture on purpose. So here it begins. The Khmer Rouge was the name applied to a brutal autocratic communist regime led by Marxist dictator Pol Pot, who ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. During the Khmer Rouge's four-year reign of terror, now known as the Cambodian Genocide, as many as 2 million people died from execution, starvation, or disease as a result of Pol Pot's attempt to create a loyal society of pure Cambodians. After all, why were they doing this? What was their ideology? The Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, had a unique and constantly changing political ideology. On one hand, they followed Marxist ideas, which focus on creating a society where there are no rich or poor people, everyone is equal, and private property is eliminated. Their goal was to build a classless society where everyone worked for the common good. However, their version of Marxism was mixed with extreme nationalism, meaning they strongly favored their own people while seeing outsiders or foreign influences as threats. This led to a belief that Cambodia should be completely self-sufficient, rejecting foreign aid, outside cultures, and even its own educated citizens if they were seen as too westernized. Unlike traditional Marxists who believed in a revolution led by factory workers, the Khmer Rouge thought that poor farmers, peasants, were the true revolutionary force. They wanted a worldwide uprising where rural farmers would overthrow governments, replacing them with peasant-led societies. Despite claiming to fight for equality, their policies led to suffering, mass killings, and extreme control over people's lives. They kept their true plans secret and worked hard to control their public image, making it difficult for outsiders to understand their real motives. Let's dive into the brutality of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. When Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge took power in Cambodia in 1975, they wanted to completely reset society. They called this moment Year Zero, meaning they would erase all past traditions, institutions, and influences to create a new, pure communist society. To achieve this, they cut Cambodia off from the outside world, shutting down communication and banning foreign influences. One of their first major actions was the forced evacuation of cities. Pol Pot believed that city life was corrupt and that only rural farming life was truly revolutionary. As a result, they forced about 2 million people, entire families, including the elderly and sick, to leave Phnom Penh and other cities, making them walk for miles to the countryside. Many people died along the way due to starvation, disease, and exhaustion. Once they arrived, they were placed in harsh labor camps where they had to grow food for the regime. To create their classless society, the Khmer Rouge abolished anything that could lead to inequality or individual wealth. They banned money, private property, and even personal belongings. Education was stopped, and schools were turned into prisons or crop storage buildings. Religion was outlawed, and traditional cultural practices were erased. People were forced to wear the same simple black clothing and live under strict rules. One of the Khmer Rouge's most extreme policies was their demand for rapid agricultural growth. Under their four-year plan, they set an impossible goal of producing 3 tons of rice per hectare, 100 acres. To meet these quotas, nearly all Cambodians were forced to work in rice fields, often for more than 12 hours a day, with almost no food, rest, or medical care. Many collapsed from exhaustion or starvation. The regime was also brutally repressive. All forms of personal freedom were taken away. People couldn't travel outside their work camps, gather in groups, or even have private conversations. If 3 people were seen talking together, they could be accused of plotting against the government and executed. Family bonds were discouraged because the Khmer Rouge wanted complete loyalty to their leadership, known as the Angkar Padevat, the revolutionary organization. Public displays of affection, sympathy, or even humor were banned. People were expected to act as if everyone was part of one big family, erasing individual relationships and personal identity. Through these extreme policies, the Khmer Rouge turned Cambodia into a massive labor camp where millions suffered and countless lives were lost. After taking control, the Khmer Rouge started killing people they saw as impure or a threat to their rule. They first targeted soldiers, officers, and government workers from the previous Cambodian government, executing thousands of them. Over the next 3 years, they continued killing anyone they considered an enemy, including city residents, educated people, ethnic minorities, and even their own soldiers if they refused to follow orders or were suspected of being traitors. Many victims were sent to prisons where they were tortured before being executed. One of the most infamous prisons was S21 Tuol Sleng, where about 14,000 people were imprisoned, but only 12 survived. This mass killing became known as the Cambodian Genocide. During the Khmer Rouge's 4 years in power, an estimated 1.5 to 2 million people, about a quarter of Cambodia's population at the time, died from execution, starvation, disease, or overwork. So what was the end? Who ended this all? What happened to Pol Pot? By 1977, Cambodia and Vietnam were fighting more and more along their border, leading to deadly clashes. In December 1978, Vietnam launched a full-scale invasion, and by 7 January 1979, they had taken control of Cambodia's capital, Phnom Penh. The Khmer Rouge leaders, supported by China and Thailand, fled to Thailand and regrouped. With Vietnam's help, a group of Cambodian communists who had turned against the Khmer Rouge formed a new government called the People's Republic of Kampuchea, PRK, led by Heng Samrin. In 1993, the PRK was replaced by a new government called the Royal Government of Cambodia, bringing back the country's monarchy under King Norodom Sihanouk. Though the Khmer Rouge still existed for a few more years, its leaders either joined the new government, were arrested, or died by 1999. Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, was placed under house arrest in 1997 and died in his sleep from heart failure on 15th April 1998 at the age of 72.